Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. It seems like people are still trickling in, so we'll just give them another minute before we get started. Thanks. All right, I think let's go for it. Again, thank you all so much for being here with us today. We hope that you're safe, that you're healthy, that you're sane. We have been running these webinars all week, every single day at 2, and today we're going to focus on how to leverage social media during this time, this crazy time. So we're so thrilled to have Cynthia and Rosalind here with us today, who are leading the efforts at Facebook with their COVID response, and we are so thrilled to dig into it. Before we start, just a couple of rules of the road. The webinar today, it is being recorded. We will send out the recording after the webinar wraps. We're going to save all of the questions till the end, but throughout the webinar, feel free to submit any questions that you have using the questions function on the control panel. If you're having trouble, send us a chat and we will try to help you out. And if you can't figure out where the chat is or where the questions are, shoot me an email and we'll try to get that all set for you. If you're having any other technical difficulties, again, just send us an email or use the chat function so we can try to help you out. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Rosalind and Cynthia, who are going to give us a presentation today.
Great, thank you, Emily. Hopefully you all can hear me. My name is Rosalind Mahashan. I'm here with my colleague Cynthia Jorgensen from Facebook. And as we dive into the slides, wanted to just give a quick introduction to ourselves, but most importantly, we really want to thank the James Beard Foundation, Emily and V, for hosting this and making this opportunity available for us to be with you today. And really thank you all for joining today as well. We know that there's many other things that you can be spending and investing your time in during a time that's so critical for all of us on the personal as well as the professional side. So can't thank you enough for spending some time with us. I, by way of background, in my role at Facebook, I work on the health partnerships team and partner most specifically with global health organizations like the World Health Organization, International Medical Corps, UNICEF, and we really help build tools for our partners so that they can further their mission to help improve the health and well-being of others. My background is in a combination of social impact as well as tech. So professionally, my background's in communications as well as strategy. Have been working in the industry of tech for about 15 years now, and also spent about 5 years working at nonprofits and social enterprises. If you go way back, started out my first job really working at my aunt's florist growing up, and really just going to the flower markets every Saturday morning, making floral arrangements, delivering them to homes and hospitals and funeral homes, and just really getting a chance to work at a small business really helped me cement the important role that these organizations like yours really play in supporting and building the community. So really just cannot thank you enough for all the things that you're doing, and we're here to support. If we can go to the next slide, I can share a bit more about some of the things that Facebook has been doing to respond to COVID-19. And also walk through we can go back to the agenda at a later point as well. Apologies if I'm skipping around a bit. Today, really just wanted to share a bit more, Facebook's role, why is Facebook here? Since the crisis had started months ago, many on the Facebook side, especially our health team, because we work so closely with health organizations, have been working on developing task forces specifically to help with COVID response. So what do we do? You know, a lot of our work has come from grassroots employee-driven efforts, but we've also had leadership really coming in and fully supporting our work overall. So some of the principles that guided how we decided to play a role. Number one, people really come to Facebook to connect with people they care about, and they're doing that more than ever now that many countries are advising their citizens to shelter in place and to stay home. We also know that Facebook is a place where you can support causes or ideas that you learn about, and for health, many caregivers, family members, and friends really go to Facebook to find out how they can further help improve the health and well-being of their family members and themselves. So Facebook's goal is really to help make that as simple and easy as possible. And in the next slide, there are just some examples of things that we are currently doing across the entire company to help respond to coronavirus. First and foremost, really just getting accurate information from local as well as global health authorities and news out there. So we have a dedicated coronavirus information page that we built in partnership with the CDC, as well as local and regional state authorities to provide the latest information about statistics related to coronavirus cases, where they may be coming from, news, information about from health authorities about how to prevent the disease from getting spread further, lives. So there's a website that you can access that's hosted by Facebook. We're excited to be able to share that in the 2 months that we've started this work. We're entering our 3rd month right now of this website being in development. We're going to be expanding it to many other countries around the world. We've reached about 1 billion people with this website. So just kind of goes to show, that Facebook can do things at scale and can also share some really trustworthy and credible information about health. So that's what we're really focused on doing. The other pieces are really just helping stop misinformation and harmful content from spreading further. There's obviously a lot of rumors or misconceptions about the disease. So a lot of our work is actually individually reviewing all of this content and removing it or reducing it from going viral within Facebook or Instagram or other platforms that Facebook's part of, to stop that misinformation from spreading any further, because we know how harmful it can be, especially as people look to sources like Facebook for information. So that's something we take very seriously. And then the other piece that we're doing with the global health community is just working with their organizations directly, helping them either through supporting their fundraising efforts, contributing to those organizations directly with cash grants, as well as sharing any publicly available data sets with them. In some cases, we've partnered, for example, with the Hong Kong University of Medicine to provide them with projection maps as to how the coronavirus disease can spread. And that was information that the hospital system as well as the medical university had not previously been able to access. So we were able to share what we had based on just aggregated information across Facebook to be able to help them more accurately predict which cities and regions they should be focusing their efforts on. So that's really, a lot of the work that we're doing on the health side. And I'm also excited to share that there's also a great deal of work and support for our local businesses as well. So Facebook is offering $100 million in cash grants and ad credits for small businesses in any country that we operate. We're currently working through the mechanics of the application system and setup, but we do have a website with more information about which grants you may be eligible to apply for. We want to open it up to this group as well, since many of you are operating small businesses. There's a website that you can sign up on and get more information about the specific details, as well as a link to the application when it's available. So that website is available on the next slide. Some examples of kinds of grants that we're hoping to receive applications for. One is things to keep the workforce going strong. Number 2, anything to help with rent costs, for example. 3, connecting with customers, using the grants to reach more customers or your community members, and then 4, basic operational cost coverage. So those are all ways in which we're looking to help support these organizations. And right now, we know that we are currently offering this in any country that we operate. So that includes the US. And there will be about 30,000 small businesses that will be receiving these grants of ad credits and cash. So we do encourage you as a follow-up after this session, we can share this link as well, so that way you can circulate this to the distribution group to be able to apply for these grants. So that's really what, at a high level, Facebook, the company, has been doing. And then what I'd love to be able to do is kick things off to Cynthia, who can really walk through a lot more about the logistics of, how to operate during this environment, and share some really great best practices that we've seen for how restaurant industry is staying relevant during this time, and for basic community engagement, as well as social network practices. So happy to share more with you, and we'll have about a few minutes towards the end for question and answer, as well as moderated by Emily. So thanks again, and over to you, Cynthia.
Thanks so much, Roz, for the introduction and for that great overview. Hi, everybody. I'm Cynthia Jorgensen. I work on the Social Impact Partnerships team, specifically on partner solutions. And part of my role is helping our partners use the Facebook family of apps and tools to really meet their objectives. And part of what we're doing here today is we're going to go over some insights that we've seen, and specifically how you can take action during this time. We'll go over some tips and tricks for engaging your network on Facebook and Instagram. We'll do a quick review of advertising, because a few of you had questions about that, and we'll share a number of resources that we have. So I'm going to start off and just go right into it. Really just to tell you all that we're all in this together. We're here to offer you some insights, some tips and resources, but at the end of the day, you know your business best. And so we definitely encourage you to trust your instincts, to honor your authenticity. But we do also want you to know how you can leverage your social network to find inspiration and support right now. And we have a ton of resources available to help you do that. I'll start off with some consumer behavior shifts that we've been seeing in other parts of the world, and then as well here in North America. A lot of this is going to be pretty much as expected, so we'll move through it pretty quickly, but highlight some key points. I'd say, like, overall, what we saw in China, where this was the impact first hit, was really a shift of how consumers are spending. 75% of surveyed consumers in a recent Kantar study said that they'd already canceled all their spending plans related to top industries, including dining out of home, and another 17% said they'd reduced their spending. As you'd expect, there's been an increase in consumer spending in a few areas, including food and beverage for home consumption. And outside of work, people are spending a lot of their time on video. Videos are playing a huge role. High percentages of consumers are turning to short and long-term video, entertainment, live streams. And in fact, and this is pretty interesting, thinking more towards the future, when asked, what do you want to most do when the outbreak's over, by Kantar, the most common answer from people in China was to go out to dine with others. So really thinking forward, there's definitely a lot of focus on food in people's minds, just to show you kind of at a high level. You'll see here food and beverage increase for home consumption, out of home dining, obviously canceling a lot of those plans, often because people have had to. So moving straight out of insights to action, how can businesses take action? Specifically, how can you take action during this time? We know this outbreak has severely affected food establishments everywhere, from delivery and inventory challenges to foot traffic and revenue. In some areas, being encouraged or legally required to temporarily shut down your physical locations. So we'll be focusing on resources and recommendations to help you stay in touch with your customers, share important updates, and in whatever way possible to keep doing business during these rapidly changing circumstances. Number one is keeping yourself safe and informed. Building confidence in yourself for your business, for your staff, for your customers starts with being informed. We know things are changing really quickly. We look to resources like the WHO, the CDC, and local government health departments for guidance. So definitely encourage you to check out those resources yourself and just stay up to date on what's happening locally for you. The second main point that we want to make here is taking care of your employees. We know so many of you are doing so much for your employees and as much as you can. A couple highlights here are, just making sure your employees have the latest business guidance from the CDC about precautions for keeping themselves safe or keeping others safe. If your business is in shutdown or if you've had to scale back work hours or staffing, you can still share information with your employees about, how different states are providing access to unemployment benefits to workers and things like that. But on top of that, we know so many of you are doing so much more. And one way that you can activate your social network is by sharing what you're doing with your social network. They want to know what's happening. They want to know how to support you, your employees, your business. An example that I'll give is a restaurant here locally in San Francisco shifted from dine-in only to pickup only. They still committed to offering family meal for employees for pickup. They also started a fund for employees and contributed a percentage of proceeds from certain items in their pickup orders to that fund. So just an example of a restaurant locally that we've seen find some success with that. The third point here is transparency. This is about really building positive sentiment, customer confidence, share or implementing if you are still able to operate to address the crisis in your place of business is one way to sort of remove that concern and fear. Definitely referring to your local health regulations, but really sharing that out, with your network. Consider posting real-time updates on your Facebook page, on your Instagram feed, so your customers really know what you're actively doing to take care of them during this time. Marketing, whether you are still to operate, if that's shifted, if you're temporarily shut down, there are a number of things that you can do to maintain marketing. If you're still able to do pickups or still able to operate in some capacity, share photos or videos either from what you're doing and what it looks like, or from followers who post about the food that they're picking up. If you're temporarily closed, focus on your personal brand, what you're doing at home, whether you're working on new recipes, how you're preparing food at home. You could even highlight some of your employees and their backstories, what they're doing right now. If you're working on a cookbook, follow other influencers for ideas, take some time to sort of rethink that marketing strategy. And we'll go into a few more tips and tricks specifically about content and ideas in a little bit. But really, this is just about kind of pivoting, meeting your customers where they are, rethinking how you are marketing. This isn't necessarily, a marketing opportunity, but it doesn't mean that you still can't connect with your customers in meaningful ways. If you are navigating towards order ahead or delivery, these are just a few sort of considerations, and we can definitely share this afterward. But really be creative, with what you're doing. Solicit your employees or your followers for ideas. How can you utilize supplies differently? What are customers going to expect when they come to pick something up or when you do deliver? We saw a coffee chain find some success with really letting their network know about contactless pickup. Whatever safety measures you're taking, again, apply here. but really just sharing really proactively across any of your social media channels what's happening now with your business is really something to focus on. If you're able to offer gift cards or credits, this is one way we've seen a lot of consumers trying to support their local restaurants or businesses. Explain how this could make a difference for you. Share that with your social network. You could even set a goal and share progress to that goal. If you're able to do that, if you want to look into it, these are all options to explore to continue to get support from your network. And then finally on this point, social good. If you're able to give back, think about ways that you can uniquely contribute. We saw a survey where 93% of consumers believe that brands had some responsibility in giving back during this time, whether that's fundraising for yourself or your employees, whether that's partnering with local government and healthcare facilities to provide meals for healthcare workers. Be authentic with what you're able to offer and share what you're doing with your network. And finally, take some time for yourself. When all said and done, the single most important thing you can do right now, in addition to staying healthy, respecting the people around you, is taking time for yourself. You know, sometimes we have to help ourselves so we can help others. Just a little reminder from your friends here at Facebook that you're important too. And that's really a vital part of keeping your business going. Here's some resources where you can find some more information specifically about business guidance on Facebook, on Instagram. There are a ton of resources, as I mentioned. We'll have a whole slide on this at the end, but just wanted to highlight a few of those as we go through. I'm going to take a sip of water. I hope you'll forgive me. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty about engaging your network on Facebook and Instagram. So knowing that people are spending more time online, as we mentioned, that habits have shifted from out-of-home dining to food and beverage for home consumption, how can you leverage your network on Facebook and Instagram right now? We'll go over quickly some basic tips and tricks and best practices. We'll do a little deep dive on video and talk about how to leverage your network to raise awareness and find support in a little more detail. So first off, building your presence on Facebook. Once you have a public presence, there are a few tips that we sort of offer. The first is really be yourself, be authentic. Post in the first person, be casual, be conversational. You want to connect really with people through your social network authentically. Post consistently. What we recommend here is aiming for one post and one story of 4 to 7 slides every day, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll get into Instagram after this. You can schedule posts as an example. We have found that videos, even before all of this happened, are 7 times more engaging than other types of posts on Facebook. So we definitely encourage videos. And that brings me to the third point here, post natively. Videos uploaded directly to Facebook have proven more successful than those linked to rate as a quick sort of stat there. Share exclusive content, announce in advance to fans and respond to news directly. It's a way to get your fans to really connect to your network. Interact with other influencers and cross promote. You can follow, like, comment, direct message, or send messages to organizations, people, brands to create co-promotions, encourage sharing, and really extend your reach. Engage with your audience. You can ask them questions. We definitely encourage you to react or respond to comments as much as you can. You can do a Q&A or go live, and we'll go into that as well. Weigh in on current events. Your followers value your perspective. They want to hear from you. You know, obviously, your focus is on your restaurant or your dining experience. But what do you have to say? Share that with your followers. Keep it connected. By this, we really mean like linking all of your accounts to one another so people can follow you and find you more easily. whether that's, on Facebook and Instagram, on your website, etc. And leverage user-generated content. One tip here is if you ask people to tag you in their posts, you can then sort of respond, share, and really interact with them more deeply. Another tip here is create episodic content. So start a content series like Motivation Monday or Daily Dash to encourage followers to keep coming back to your account to find more. And then experiment and get creative. We suggest posting a variety of content to maximize your reach and sort of meet people where they're at, using creative tools and just sort of trying things out and seeing what works best for your followers. On Instagram, a lot of these same principles hold true, but some more specific tips here around connecting with your followers. Following creators who inspire you or interests that are authentic to who you are. It's a great way to engage with your community, to show your appreciation. You don't need to follow everybody, but we suggest getting a cross-section of accounts that inspire you. Liking, commenting, if you comment on photos or in reply to comments from your followers, or even if somebody else who's an influencer in your community shares your photo on their account, these are great ways to really build a deeper connection with your followers. Instagram Direct, we suggest using that to privately message fans or reach out to another influencer or community member that you want to partner with. Stories. We'll go over some content ideas here, but behind the scenes, everyday content, day in the life, don't overthink it. This content goes away after 24 hours. It's best to post a story that builds. So maybe you're starting a recipe and then, each step along the way, you show the finished product. That's a great use for stories. We really do suggest cross-posting between Facebook and Instagram. We found that there's really only about a 10% overlap in followers between those two platforms. So we definitely encourage cross-posting. And then live on Instagram or on Facebook. This is definitely ephemeral. It's only able for, people are only able to view live in the moment, or if you share it to your story on Instagram for 24 hours. But it's a great way for people to feel like they're really in the moment with you. And then a few tips, putting time in, Instagram's a community. The more time you put in, the more your efforts will be rewarded. Authentically communicate, have a clear, unique voice. What's your perspective? That's what people follow you for. That's what they want to hear. Posting regularly, again, there's a correlation between how often you post and follower growth. Aim for 1 post and 1 story per day. Exclusive content, study accounts in your community. Following people who inspire you can give you great ideas, especially now during this time. What are other people doing in your same situation? Follow them, get ideas, talk to them, look for ways to learn from them and collaborate. And then again, collaborating with others. I'm going to do a very quick deep dive on video. As mentioned before, video seems to be playing a huge role right now. As far as where people's consumption habits have shifted. Facebook Live, great way to connect with your followers in real time, hosting a Q&A, sharing a major announcement, go live with a demo. This is a great way to let people connect with you in real time right now. Facebook Live, save to your page after the broadcast is over. There's a 4-hour time limit. On Facebook Live for mobile, we suggest a minimum of 5 minutes for live. For Instagram, here are a few sort of tips for Instagram Live. Engage with people by name. Really, this is a way for you to have a conversation with your community. It's easy to do selfie style from your phone. You can see comments on the screen in real time. So think of it as like a 2-way street of communication. When you engage with people by name, it's really like a great way to get them to feel like they're a part of what you're doing. You can start off with some sample questions to get the audience comfortable, like where are you watching from? What questions do you have for me today? Encourage people to post comments. so that you can respond and call them out by name. So-and-so posted this comment and thanks for your question. It really lets people feel like they want to continue to interact with you. Go live for 5+ minutes. Our ranking system prioritizes videos that are 3 minutes or longer because we found that users get more value from longer videos. You can save Instagram Lives to your story. Try going live on a regular cadence so that people keep coming back. For example, every morning at 10 a.m., I'm going to show you my morning routine. Try pre-promoting your live with questions and countdown stickers and stories. If you go into a story, you'll see those options. You can sort of pre-seed questions and answer those live. There is a 1-hour time limit on Instagram Live. So you're able to go live for any amount of time up to that. Pin a comment. So you can actually pin comments in Instagram Live to explain sort of who you are, what you're talking about, what people should expect. Make sure you have strong Wi-Fi, full battery. It's okay to make mistakes when you're on live. It's supposed to be authentic. It really adds personality. So don't overthink it too much. Interact with your viewers through those comments. Have somebody there to help feed you comments as you're going live. If you're sheltering in place with somebody, it's a great time to ask them for help. And then brand your environment and avoid copyrighted content in the background. Make sure you're considering the backdrop. Does it match your brand? Music, artwork, other trademarks and copyrights are copyrighted content that you should avoid. Instagram stories, you can definitely dive into this a little bit more, but just wanted to highlight, this is another great tool. You can really dive into the creative tools on there, stickers, polls, questions, boomerang, play around with it. In general, here are some content ideas. Day in the life, explaining a difficult concept in short form, demonstrating a secret talent that you have, a travel experience that impacted your life or work, photos of your favorite cookbooks or mementos in your home. And more specifically for live and stories, a live tour of your kitchen, demonstrate a recipe or a technique, talk through how you set up your kitchen. What could people substitute right now as we're trying to avoid going to the store? Those are great tips to offer from your own home kitchen. You can do a live Q&A. You can start a weekly series, food prep for the week or whatever it might be, or even behind the scenes. And finally, use your network to raise awareness and find support. Present a clear problem. What's happening with your business right now. Offer really specific actions, 1 to 3, and make those actions really easy to do. The fewer clicks or steps or decisions to make, the more likely people will complete them. Clarify your need. Don't bury it. Use specific examples or stories so people can connect to the impact that their action could make. Consider what would be compelling to your audience and meet them where they are. And then inspire people to share their stories. Ask them directly and indirectly. Ask them to tag you, develop a hashtag, share and repost what they do share in your stories, and celebrate what they are contributing. You can find a ton more tips and tricks for using Facebook and Instagram through a number of different resources on Facebook. Here are a few that I'm highlighting specifically, where you can definitely deep dive and learn a lot more. Okay, and then for those of you who are interested in advertising right now, I'm going to focus on a few tips here and share some resources where you can find more information. There are a few trends that we've seen over the last 12 months that we think are adding real value. This is not my area of strong expertise, so I'm going to go over it pretty generally, but please know that there's so many resources out there that I'll share with you as well, where you can definitely find out a lot more. Mainly, we've seen a shift in consumer behavior to consuming content online, as we mentioned, especially videos. We really suggest thinking through your immediate, short, and long-term plans. What we're highlighting here is, plan flexible, fast response marketing investments. You don't want to invest in ads that you can't change to be flexible to what's happening. So really think through what types of advertising you're using. We'd say the second part, adjusting your brand messages to meet consumers where they are. Really like think through, as we talked before, what's happening with your business right now. Where do consumers want to be involved? What messaging do they want to hear right now, and really meeting them where they are. And then planning ahead with an eye towards innovation. This is really about like, what's the future? This is a good time to sort of like take a step back and think about where things are going to go once this is over. Use this time to think about consumer trends, new demand spaces, how your business might look different after this, and take that time to really develop your brand. First, for some creative sort of insights here, what we've seen is a focus on capturing attention quickly, designing your ads for the sound being off. Again, with a focus on video, you want to make sure that you're expressing what you're trying to say without sound if people don't have their sound on. Framing your visual story and playing. For small to medium businesses, our marketing science research shows that a weekly budget of really $35 to $100 is the most efficient. So it's definitely doable, even at a very small scale, if you are interested in advertising. Of course, it's easy for us to say, play around with it. But one tool that we have out there to help you is the Creative Hub. It's an online space for you to sort of play around with creating and test mocking mobile ads and then sharing them from there. So definitely suggest the Creative Hub, and I'll share that link at the end of this. And, photo, video, and carousel ads are all out there. Thinking through what makes the most sense to you. You can definitely learn a lot more on our Facebook for business sites and Instagram for business sites. Here are a couple of those links where you can really deep dive a lot more. Facebook.com/business/learn. And then a full list of a ton of resources here. The small business grants program that we mentioned before, Facebook and Instagram for business. Facebook Blueprint is really like our hub of information for businesses, where you can learn about anything you want to know about Facebook. We also have business for Instagram for business, which is business.instagram.com. The Creative Hub I mentioned here. There are definitely some highlights for food creators out there, but a wealth of resources where you can definitely deep dive into anything that is specifically of interest to you. So I think 2 minutes to spare here, so a little more time for Q&A. So thank you all, and looking forward to your questions.
That was great. Thank you so much. And just to recap on some of the things that we heard, and obviously we'll be able to look over all this stuff in the recording and sending out some materials afterwards, but I think posting consistently and being authentic, those were kind of the two big takeaways that at least I heard. And I think at least now so many of us in the hospitality industry and the community are feeling, helpless and angry and upset. And a lot of what we've seen in our communities that's been working really well is people just kind of like ranting or getting angry or upset about something. I think those things speak to everybody right now. And so you never know who you might be helping, who might feel heard by sharing those things. So all of that was amazing. Thank you guys so much for sharing. We did get a couple of requests for questions coming in, so I'm just gonna pull my screen back up. So one of them, and you touched on this a little bit, but about music and copywriting in videos, you're saying to just kind of avoid putting music in the videos altogether, right?
Yeah, when you're going live in particular, you don't want your live to get taken down. If there is copyrighted content, it'll definitely be flagged. So you can definitely read more about that in some of those, if you're researching Facebook Live on all those resource pages. But music in particular is a pretty big one that will often get flagged when you're going live. So just be really conscious about any copyrighted content in the background.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you. And then just in terms of engagement, we had a question come in from Jessica who, and I've seen this too, it's like folks will post on Instagram and then it will go share directly to Facebook. Do you recommend doing that, doing like a single post that shares to both, or separate content for each platform?
That's a good question. And honestly, the answer is both. Cross-promoting, content, if it's like a strong message that you really want to share, is definitely recommended. We do see different audiences on Facebook and Instagram. But at the same time, exclusive content on either platform is a really strong way to get people to go to, whether you post on Instagram or Facebook, to get people to go to your Instagram page Facebook page, and really like engage there more deeply. So I'd say both, and just really follow what you know best about your business. I think depending on the message that you're trying to share, just really consider what makes the most sense for you.
Sure. I think also now is the time to experiment. A lot of the time, especially with chefs, it's hard because they're in the kitchen, so they're not running their own social media. They're not focused on these things. And now maybe with a little bit of space from the kitchen, it's a good time to see, what works and what doesn't. So
absolutely.
So we have a question also from Sarah who wants to know if there is any content that should be avoided right now, if you're seeing anything, and I don't know if you can speak to this, anything that's not performing well, either sensitive or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. What we're seeing people engaging most in is positive content, to be honest with you. Keeping your message positive, focusing on what you already do best. Your followers are following you to really follow that brand that you've already built. So I'd say like be true to that, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to avoid talking about what's going on. I think it's just a matter of like being open and honest, but trying to really come at it from a positive standpoint as much as you can. Definitely authenticity is like the key here. And if that authentic piece is honesty, that's definitely important. And the other piece of authenticity, obviously, is staying true to the brand that you've built and what you've really been focused on the entire time. So more than anything else, positive content.
Awesome. Love that. And then from Caroline, is there a known amount of posting that's either annoying? I think we got a couple of questions that came in that were like, am I posting too much? Am I posting too little? I think you had recommended, at least for stories, 4 slides per day, every day. But is there, if it's more than that, do you see things trending downwards? What's that look like?
Yeah, like our general recommendation is 1 post and 1 story per day, and that story of 4 to 7 slides, typically that build on each other, and that's on Facebook and Instagram. But really, it depends on your followers. If you see people engaging more, the more content that you share, like by all means, go for that. It's really dependent on your fan base and what they want to see. So I'd say like test it out and really like take time to look at what is working best for your own channel. Also, as we mentioned, like following other influencers in the space and other creators is a great way to, if you're nervous about experimenting yourself, to sort of like see what they're doing and learn from that.
Yeah, awesome. And sorry for just running through these kind of quickly. I want to make sure we get to as many.
Yeah.
We
move fast.
Hashtags, how many should we use? Should we be using them at all? Do people still use them? What's the effective way to use them?
Yeah, hashtags. We definitely recommend it for specific purposes. Again, knowing your audience is key here, and following, influencers and creators to get some ideas. Where we've seen hashtags be effective are in those sort of like episodic moments or things that you're continuing to do. So like the example we gave was like hashtag motivation Monday. But we've seen creators in the food space as an example doing like cooking from home once a week, and they have like a weekly story that they're sharing and they develop a hashtag around that. I think if it's something that's like a campaign, or something that you're seeing in the industry that's already a hashtag, or something that you're trying to build, those are good ways to use hashtags. Roz, I don't know if you have any other insights there that you want to share.
Yeah, that sounds consistent with what we're seeing as well. For many of our global health organizations, the focus is really on sharing the preventive tips and best practices. So the hashtags that we're seeing that continue to be trending, at least from like a COVID response related point of view, is anything that's related to health authority guidance. So it could be like staying at home, sheltering in place for those communities and states where that's applicable, washing your hands as the most effective way. A lot of people do not know the best practices for washing your hands for 20 seconds. And there's been a challenge going around called hashtag safe hands. That's about, celebrities and public figures. I think there are some chefs involved as well, just showing people the technique for washing your hands safely and challenging others to take part in that. So those are kind of things that are happening in the ether. We're also seeing Together at Home as a large community-based hashtag as well that influencers and public figures have been using just to say, here's what we're doing at home. We're staying healthy at home by either eating well or focusing on our mental health and well-being, as well as keeping our families safe. So those are some of the broader trending campaigns that we've seen across social, so Facebook, Instagram, as well as other platforms.
Yeah, and a couple of points. Thanks, Roz, for that. Got my mind spinning on it as well. A couple of points about hashtags here and tags is, hashtags are a great way for people to find your content. Often people will search based on specific hashtags, and if you include those hashtags based on the content that you're posting, it's a great way for discoverability, basically, to be engaged. If it's a matter of hashtag versus tagging, where we see tagging be more effective is when you're asking your followers to share content with you that potentially you want to then like repost or share. Tagging is more effective there. And in your own content, if you're tagging other creators or influencers who you're hoping will do the same thing, sort of like resharing what you share, reposting, we definitely suggest tagging there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know that we're running up on time. I still see a lot of questions that we didn't get to, but we will send out the recording. We are taking notes, so we're going to send those out as well. We have a whole list of resources that we're going to share with you. So if your question doesn't get answered by one of those things, just follow up with me and we'll get that to you. Just a quick little plug before we go. You had mentioned working on your personal brand. The James Beard Foundation, our women's leadership programs already have a webinar on, building up your personal brand. So we'll send that out in the follow-up notes. It's a part of our women's leadership programs, but it's open to everybody. And you also mentioned a cookbook, which is so timely because coming next week, and we haven't announced the full schedule yet, but coming up next week, we will have a webinar on how do you start writing a cookbook with some really cool people. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 talking about demystifying government programs. So I know that that's a lot on a lot of our minds right now. And so hoping that you can all join us for that. And then the following day, it'll be a little bit more fun. We'll be having a happy hour, spirited conversation type of thing where we, talk about how this is all affecting the beverage industry, and we'll make a cocktail, so it'll be fun too. For more information on what the Beard Foundation is doing during this time of COVID-19, you can head to jamesbeard.org/relief or email us at impact@jamesbeard.org, and we'd be happy to answer your question. So with that, thank you so much again, Rosalind and Cynthia. This was awesome. Again, we'll be following up. So thanks, everybody. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. It was so great to chat with you all.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you all. Everyone stay safe and healthy.